Hello quilty friends, Tom the ColourBlind Quilter here, and welcome to day 3 of Quiltmas. So yes, it is day 3 of Quiltmas and it is my turn for my video today. And I hope you've been enjoying Quiltmas so far, but if you're wondering what on earth Quiltmas is, let me just fill you in a little bit. So earlier this year, I was invited to take part with 11 other quilters from around the world. And the idea is that we all exchange a fat quarter of fabric, we produce a Christmas project, and then we all produce a video and release it starting on the 1st of December for 12 days. So I picked a beautiful, beautiful fabric. Now this is a kind of Scandi fabric, I would think. It kind of looks Scandi themed perhaps. And I have quite a thing for grey Christmas fabric. I think it's quite nice and it kind of feels different from the usual reds, golds and greens. So that was my fabric and I duly posted it off. These were all the beautiful fabrics that I received in return. And there is a wide mixture of colours in here. You know, you've got kind of creams, you've got greens, you've even got like dark colours. Then there's like this beautiful tin nutcracker soldier. And then we've got some Christmas baubles, a bit of tartan, some Santa Claus, got some nice blue baubles. So we've got some beautiful different seasonal greetings, and then we got some, I think they're called poinsettias, the flowers. So a nice variety and mix, and even this little fabric here that has little doggies on it, and I have one of these little white doggies, a little Westie, so that was nice to get that. So yeah, those are the fabrics that I got. And the idea was you had to make a project, and it could be any kind of Christmas project as long as you used each of these fabrics in your quilt. Now, for me as a colorblind quilter, when I first saw this little pile, I was like, oh, these are great. And then my brain started to think, oh, how am I going to coordinate all of these colors together? Because there's many different colors in here. I don't often use patterned fabrics. I stick to plain fabrics because they're much easier for me to deal with. So when I saw all these patterned fabrics, I started to get a little bit worried and think, what am I going to do? So to do something with all those different fabrics, I thought, well, the best thing to do is, rather than trying to make a block and put all these different fabrics together, was to try and do something to showcase each of the fabrics. But I hate fussy cutting. Blech. And I just don't like it. No, not for me. So I wanted to find something that I could do that would showcase the fabrics without being fussy, without being difficult, but was going to look nice. Because, you know, some of these have small repeating patterns and other ones have big, you know, like the nutcracker guy. Like I wanted to show that off because that's really unusual, you know, so I wanted to, oops, on the floor. I wanted to showcase that. So I hummed and hawed, had a good long play in pre-quilt and came up with this. Yes, this is the quilt. This is the Christmas quilt. And so I came up with this very simple idea of rectangles with background fabric. And then I put them together in pairs and tried to create a nice spread of color. And I'll show you some footage of making and doing all this so that you can see it. And it turned out really well. Of course, I made a sample block to start because, being my own pattern that I drafted, I like to check the sizes because there's nothing worse than cutting everything, making it and discovering that things are the wrong size and they don't fit or they don't work. So after playing and tweaking and turning things round and round and round and round and all that jazz, I finally settled on the layout and was happy with how it was looking. So it was time to start sewing, and this is where the shenanigans started. The Christmas elves were having some fun in my quilting room and being mischievous. So everything was laid out, okay? Started sewing, I thought this is going swimmingly, just through the sewing machine, lays it on the floor. Oh, those two sections are upside down. So I thought, oh, no biggie, just unpick the seam and then sew it again. And then laid it out, realized that one of the blocks was now upside down. Oops. And then laid it out again to discover that when I had picked these up, there was a certain orientation to sew them so that you got this staggered look. There's 24 of them, yeah, I picked up all 24 of them, so 22 the wrong way round, so 2 the right way round. Realised that the 2 that I had unpicked were the right ones and all the other ones had to be unpicked and sewn the opposite way. And it was something so stupid that as I picked them up, instead of sewing this edge, I flipped them round and sewed the other edge. What are you gonna do? So we unpicked them all again, sewed them, pressed them, ran away and hid in a cupboard and cried for 10 minutes, came back, sewed it together, and it was fine. Then there was another one upside down. So these Christmas elves were really being mischievous, but we made it to the end. We got there and then thought, well, it needs a border now. It needs something to frame it. You know, it needs something that's going to contrast beautifully against this background fabric. So I came up with this beautiful dotted green that I just happened to have some spare left from a Christmas tree skirt that I made last year. And I was like, perfect. It just frames it so beautifully. I was so happy with it, so happy with that. So I added my borders and then in true Tom style, put it in the cupboard and forgot about it. And then realized that I needed to finish this thing to get it done. So I decided that I wanted a lovely, rich, red, fleecy background because I wanted this to be really cozy and snuggling. So I found this amazing red fleecy fabric. Oh, it's so soft. It's so lovely. It nearly didn't make it into the quilt. It nearly stayed in my pile. So I decided one Saturday night after dinner, tonight is the night. I'm gonna get this done, get it laid out, get it sandwiched and get it quilted. So got my red fleecy fabric out and it was an extra wide fabric, a bit longer. So, you know, laid it out, laid the quilt on top to get the rough sizes, cut it, and it looked like I had murdered a teddy bear. That red fleecy fabric went everywhere. And I mean everywhere. I had spent 20 minutes hoovering all of the upstairs of my house that afternoon, and there was red fluff on the walls, red fluff on the door, red fluff all over me, red fluff everywhere and sticking to the carpet. And it took half an hour to hoover just that little section up. I've never had fabric like it before. So I thought, okay, we'll need to wash this then, get rid of all this fluff. But of course, like if I put that in the washing machine, I probably would have ended up with a bundle of string. So I had to put a zigzag stitch all the way around it, which took forever, and then washed it. It survived. So I got it, made my quilt sandwich, everything was fine, going great, made sure everything was the right way, you know, because the theme of this quilt has been the wrong way. And then as I completed the sandwich, how on earth am I going to quilt this appeared, and it was just Now there is irony in this because for the past 2 years I have been doing a video series called This Is How You Quilt It. So I should be immune to the effects of that question, but no, I was left wondering what on earth to do, and of course when that happens that means it goes back in a box. So I was browsing through Love Quilting mag, and it was the Christmas edition that came with the binding tool, if you've seen it. And one of my quilty friends had a Christmas pattern in it. Now this is the 4th or 5th time that he's been in this magazine this year. And it's not that I dislike him, but he's just so organized and, you know, whatever. So anyway, I looked at what he'd done in his quilt, and he had used a 3-step zigzag stitch. And it looked really nice. And I was like, oh, I know, I will just borrow that. Shamelessly rip it off. But it actually looked really good, and it was really nice because it was a horizontal quilt and it added interest going down it vertically. So I thought that will work nicely for me because this is a vertical quilt, and this will help to elongate the quilt, and it will help to not detract from the fabric because the focus of the quilt is the fabric, but it will emphasize all these beautiful fabrics. So having never used a 3-step zigzag stitch before, I made a little sample, and it's always good to make a sample using the actual backing fabric and fabric so that you can see any tension issues. So I did my 3-step zigzag. It was beautiful, really liked it. And then I was like, ooh, what if we did a serpentine stitch with that? And like combine them all together, and so I got this really interesting looking effect. So my plan was to do the 3-step zigzag first. I was going to do either side of each seam. I was going to do it in the middle of the sashing, kind of frame these rectangles. And it was very nice, and I really liked it. It turned out really well. And then I put some in the edges, and then I thought, what am I going to do in the borders? I thought, well, just continue the theme, continue the 3-step zigzag. So I just quilted the whole thing from top to bottom in 3-step zigzag. And I was about to start doing the wavy serpentine stitch, and what I thought was I would do it right down the middle of these blocks. And I thought, well, no, it's perfect. It doesn't need any more. Like, this is fine. So I was delighted. It turned out so well. It was so quick. So I'm now a convert to the 3-step zigzag stitch on my sewing machine, and we'll be playing with that lots more in other projects. And it all went well. There was no problems. There was no things the wrong way around, nothing upside down, nothing untoward at all happened. And I did not run out of a bobbin halfway through a seam. So yay. So then it was onto the binding. Now the choices were either more of the green border fabric to just blend in but give it that edge, the cream fabric to really frame it, but that could be tricky because, you know, it's very unforgiving, the light fabric. And then I found this. And I bought this for a Christmas project years ago. And I've never quite found the right thing for it. And then I thought, yes, this is the quilt. I did think so. I toyed with using, because I had all those fat quarters of the fabric left, I did toy with making a really scrappy binding fabric, just cutting like sections that were the same size as these rectangles and sewing them together. But having been on a bit of a deadline and having never done a scrappy binding like that before, I thought it was perhaps a bit adventurous in the time that I had. So sticking to just one fabric, stick to what I know basically, in case you screw it up or sew it upside down. So there you have it. That is my Quiltmas 2023 quilt and the adventures that I went on while making this quilt. It was worth it because it's beautiful and I love it. I love how it turned out. And I am excited to let you know that you can actually win this quilt. You can, yes. Now here's what you have to do. You need to watch every day of the 12 days of Quiltmas. And in each video, there will be something, a secret something that will be well kind of obviously pointed out for you. And you need to take a note of that. And then in the description, there is a link to enter the competition. And so what you do is you click on that link and then you go and you fill in what the secret thing is in every video and submit it with your details. And then after Quiltmas is finished, the names will be put into a hat and then one lucky person will be drawn to win this quilt and it will be shipped to anybody around the world who wins it. And you can enter all the videos and enter to win all the projects and all the quilts. But you've got to watch every single video to find out what that secret thing is. So hopefully my secret thing is pretty obvious and you can't miss it. I made it so subtle, it's so discreet, you know, you really have to look for it. Now, if you want a copy of this, there's not a pattern per se, but there is like a one-pager that has rough fabric requirements, the cutting sizes for these rectangles and things and borders and stuff. And so it's a very rough pager. It's not my usual pattern, but it's just to give you the information because this is easy to construct. It's not difficult to construct. So just a quick one-pager to give you the deets so that you can make it. And if there's enough interest or if people want to see more, I can do a quick tutorial about how to make this quilt. So that was day 3 of Quiltmas, and I hope you enjoyed a little bit of my story of the quilt that I made and the mischievous elves that have been, you know, getting in the way. Now in the description below you will find a link to all the videos that are coming up and all the videos that have already come out so that you can watch them and find that secret thing so that you can enter the competition, and then anything else that you need to know will be in the description as well. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Kristen at Scrap Fabric Love. She reached out and asked me if I wanted to be involved. And of course I was delighted to be asked by Kristen. And then I found out that she cheated when she made her quilt. You know, I was like sewing things upside down and sweating as I was unpicking all these seams, furiously trying to get this quilt made, while she had her family cutting all her pieces of fabric for her, which I think is very unfair. Very unfair. It's very, very naughty. She's off the Christmas card list this year. I'm just so upset because I didn't think of it first. So anyway, thank you Kristen for inviting me to this. Thank you to all the other quilters for taking part in all your beautiful fabric that you sent me. Hope you enjoy it, hope you like this. Put descriptions and links everywhere so you can get everything that you need. Have a lovely Christmas when it comes and enjoy the rest of Quiltmas 2023.